Good morning everyone, welcome back to Gillian at Mystic Healing Therapies. Thank you for watching my previous video and thank you for all the comments as well, appreciate that. So what we're going to talk about in this video number 3, is what do I mean by our higher self and some thoughts on reincarnation and how that fits with what we're doing on the earth at this present moment. Alright, so my belief is that the earth is a school for learning. It's a unique place where we're in a physical body and we experience emotions, feelings, physicality, and it's a really good place for learning. It's one of the best places in the universe, being in a human body. But as well as being one of the best places, it's one of the hardest places, because once you're in this human form, you can't get out. You sign up and that's it, things get tough, and here we are still in a body. All right, so I believe that all of us are from the divine source, so we've all got that divine spark energy, that divine light. So we're all from the source energy, we're all from God, whatever you want to call it. And before we're born, so we recognize what we want to learn in this life. So we make kind of a life plan. So you might have heard me talking about a life plan or a soul agreement. Before we're incarnated, we sit down and sort of write a roadmap of what we want to learn. We usually sit down with our guides, the people who are going to help us. Some people might call it a guardian angel. It doesn't really matter, it's all the same thing. We sit down and we decide, okay, this is what I want to experience in this life, this is what I want to learn. So for example, we might decide, in this life I want to learn what it's like to lose my parents when I'm 30, for example. Or we might think, this life we want to be rich, or this life we want to see what it's like to be poor. So, you know, we come in with a basic life plan. When we're in the incarnation, we forget what our life plan is. But sometimes that inner self, if we can connect with that inner self, then it will steer us onto a life path. So one thing I want to talk about is when we're in this human physical form, it's like one facet of a diamond. So people say, what do you mean by the higher self? Well, to me, the higher self is like the diamond that stays in the spirit world. And when we incarnate, we just incarnate one facet of that diamond. So we are much more than what we appear to be in this one physical human body. It's just sort of a temporary one page in our entire book of existence. A whole incarnation is just one page of our entire endless, limitless book. So the higher self is that part of us that is a whole of the existence of who we are, where we are, and it holds the knowledge. But like I say, when we're born, that we forget it. So we have no conscious memory of it, and the only way usually that we can access that memory is to access the higher self. So this is, you know, when we kind of meditate or we ask to connect to a higher self, we might get some wisdom and guidance from that. So like I say, a human existence, we come in, it's a classroom of life. The earth is the classroom of life. We learn the lessons. When it's time to pass or die, we go back and review. We have a life review. Well, what did I do right in this life? What did I do wrong? What might I need to learn again? I've not made a very good job of that. I'm going to try again in my next life. So then we might reincarnate again and try to learn the lessons. So, you know, that's what we call karma. When we are setting out our life plan, sometimes we might have incurred some karmic lessons that we feel we need to learn, so they'll be incorporated. So for example, you know, when they used to cut people's hands off for stealing a loaf of bread, you might choose to incarnate your next life with a hand missing, so you can experience what terrible infliction you've given to others. You might be born with a hand missing so that you can learn what it's like to have a hand. Obviously, when we look at life like this, it makes life feel a bit more fair, because sometimes it seems, well, why have I got this? Why have I got that? But there's usually a karmic reason, or in fact, I believe there's always a karmic reason. So it helps us to feel less sorry for ourselves, really, you know, as harsh as it is being a human being sometimes, if we've got this perspective of, okay, I've chosen this life, I've chosen these experiences, we don't waste time moaning and complaining about our current situation. We kind of look at what's the lesson in this. So the way this divine process works, if we are faced with a lesson and we keep repeating the same mistakes and we don't learn from the lesson, we'll just keep getting the same lesson to learn. It will just keep popping up in a different form. So for example, if our life path is to assert ourselves and say no, it will get given lots of opportunities to do that, and if we don't find the courage to do that, the same old thing will keep popping up until we've learnt that lesson, and then we can move on. So one of the things I quite often do, if I'm faced with a difficulty or something comes up, I will ask it, okay, what's the lesson in this? What do I need to know? This situation keeps arising. What do I need to learn from this? And it can make the whole process a lot easier and a lot smoother. Okay, so going back to the higher self then, you know, if you think of it as we are a vast diamond of all that we ever have been, all that we ever are, but that sort of knowledge remains on a higher level, in a different dimension. Sometimes people might call it the monad or the oversoul. You know, we hear all these words kicking about, and sometimes it can be a bit confusing. Well, what do you mean by the monad? What do you mean by the oversoul? It all means the higher self. So it is that aspect of us, all the knowledge, all the acquired knowledge of all our incarnations in different, maybe even different universes. It's all stored in our higher self. So, you know, the more we can connect with our higher self, the more guidance and the more true and aligned our paths will be. And we'll find our incarnation on earth a lot easier, because instead of going against what we've agreed to do, we kind of go with it. So that makes the whole process a lot smoother. Okay, so what I'm doing in these videos is starting with sort of more basic concepts to get the basic ideas of what people are meaning at these times, because, you know, you click on YouTube and if you're relatively new to all this, it can seem a bit overwhelming of what people are saying, and they make this assumption that we understand these concepts. So my point of making these videos to begin with is to explain sort of the basic concepts. What is 3D, 4D, 5D, what do I mean by the higher self, etc., so that we've got a few basic concepts. And as I go on, I'm planning to go into more detail about, you know, these things and get a bit more in depth with them, but I think it's important to start with, you know, the beginnings. All right, so I've been writing poetry for years. I've also written a book called Enchanted Earth. I wrote that in 2017, I think. I wrote loads of poems in the 1990s, and I just thought I'd share this one with you today because it's quite relevant to, you know, the turmoil and sort of what we're going through as a collective, really. So this one I wrote in 1997, and it's called Poppy Fields. Okay. Look beyond the outer surface, reach inside and see what's there. The faults wear many covers, the truest are most bare. Glossy pages, shiny image, striving to prove material gain. This is not the way forward, only leads you back again. Ignore the mass confusion of life's vast battlefield. Live with love and understanding, peace and harmony you will yield. And when the mocking fingers scornfully point at you, meet them with love, rise above, continue to be true. All right then, I'll leave you there with that. Look forward to speaking to you again. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.